All right, you truth seekers, listen up. Now, there are many different articles on the internet, and most of them will make your head spin. Put this tube in, it makes it better. Put that tube. Now, this is a National NC57, and what you're looking at right here, this is the RF tube from the antenna. You come in through a coil to this, then out to another coil, which is the mixer. But this is the guy that amplifies the signal. Now, right now, you probably hear a guy in the background. Now, I'm going to pull this tube, even though the set's hot. Let me make sure I got the tube I want to put in. Right now, this radio has been rebuilt. All the caps have been changed. It's been calibrated. Bad resistors have been changed. And you hear that station. All right, now, everybody that ever works on a radio says, well, can I make it more sensitive? Okay, here we go. This is the simplest way to make it more sensitive. Now, the tube I pull is going to be really hot, so you may hear some swearing. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's hot. Don't try this at home, kids. Now, that was a 6SG7, which is the RF amplifier of a National NC57. Now, we are going to stick in, without touching anything. We didn't touch the radio. Everything's still set the same. We're now going to stick in a 6C7. Don't worry about me. I worked in RCA and Harrison. Yeah, I do get shocked once in a while, but I do take tubes in and out while things are working. All right, now we put a 6AC7 in. Let's see if it gets louder. Okay, so we changed a 6SG7 to a 6AC7. Now the 6AC7 has more gain, but I'm now going to go into a little bit of a educational thing for you. Sometimes when you put a 6AC7 in where you have a 6SG7, the circuit can go into oscillation. I'm just warning you. If you say, oh, I got an NC57, I'll just order a 6AC7 to stick it in there. In most cases, you'll be okay. All right, now, the next thing you might want to try is, well, I'll take a more modern tube. Here's a more modern tube. This one here is a 6AK7, something like that. Well, anyway, this makes it go into oscillation. Also, this works. This is called a Nuvistor Cascode preamp. Now, I built this, and it's got 2 Nuvistors, and it plugs into where the 6SG7 goes in. This works exactly the same as the 6AC7. So I originally took out the tube that was in this radio. I built this, and it didn't get any better. I was scratching my head. But what had happened was some of these radios that I bought, someone had already changed the 6SG7 to a 6AC7 and made the sensitivity higher. So when I took that tube out and put this in, which it basically does the same thing, I didn't notice any difference. I told you, on base, when someone says it makes it better, I want to hear it from across the room. That's how I am. I don't want to have to hook a scope to it and run 3 signals into it and say, look, right here, it's more sensitive. That's not what I'm after. Like I always tell you, the R71A, people spent years trying to figure out why the audio was so bad. I went in there, I spent about a month, and it turned out to be the tone control, even though you turn it off, is still on because they used the wrong value pot. They used a 10K instead of 100K. That's what's wrong with the radio. So you can disconnect. There's a connector inside the radio that you can disconnect off the tone control, and you can have better audio out of a ICOM R71A, a clearer audio for like if you're getting older and your hearing isn't as good. The radio was always considered muffled. People said that the audio gave them a headache. Well, a simple mistake of putting the wrong pot in the design because they probably couldn't get a 100K pot that size, so they used the next largest value, which was 10K, which isn't enough. So when you turn the pot off, the tone is still on the radio, killing the highs. And a lot of times to copy certain words, you got to have enough high frequency. Now, when you switch that radio into single sideband, that doesn't affect it. So anyway, that's what I understand. But that's what started me saying to someone, if I can't hear the difference across the room, it's a waste of time. And there was a company that would take your R71A, and they would change all the capacitors in this one section to polystyrene, and they claimed that S's and R's or whatever sounded more clearer. So people would send the radio and spend $150 and then shipping, and they wouldn't see any difference, because you got to have one radio alongside another radio to actually hear the difference. Anyway, anytime you make a radio better, you should be able to hear it be better from across the room. But I just want to show you, this ARC, it was NC57, National NC57. It's pretty damn good for AMDXing. After you get all the capacitors changed, the alignment, the resistors changed. And I always tell you, my go-to radio, which is so much easier, is you get yourself a Radio Shack DX390 used on eBay. And don't touch the antenna when you're statically charged. And you'll get good AMDX with that radio. Plus, you can turn the radio versus a long wire antenna. You can also move it to different places in the house for better reception using the internal rod. There's also an external antenna jack. But I just wanted to show you that changing the 6SG7 to 6AC5, you heard it for yourself. It took a station that you could barely hear and made it usable. All right. Now this Nuvistor unit does the same thing on AM, but these Nuvistors go higher in frequency. So if you use this radio for CB or 10 meters, you'll notice if you put this in instead of the 6AC7, you'll get more signal, because this is better at high frequencies. But the simplest thing for you to do to improve the NC57 is just get yourself a 6AC7 and stick it in the 6SG7 RF amp socket. Now, someone might say, well, can I use it in the IFs? Sometimes you can get away with the first IF being changed to a 6AC7. But at some point, the thing might go into oscillation on you. And how you tell that's what's causing it is you cut back your RF gain and it'll stop. That's telling you it's not practical for the circuit. That's all. Just keep it at 1.6AC7. You'll improve your audio or the amount of stations you can pick up with the radio from across the room. I don't do things where you need an oscilloscope to see if it's better. I think that's it. All right, that's it.